Hey everyone, Farmington Mayor Nate Duckett. Thank you for joining us for a special edition of the Mayor's Table. Today we're going to be talking about Drought Stage 1 restrictions. It's voluntary. We need your help, and we have ways that you can conserve water in your home and your business to ensure this summer we have lots of water to go around. Hi everyone, Farmington Mayor Nate Duckett here. We have a special edition of the Mayor's Table today. We're going to be talking about Stage 1 drought restrictions with the City of Farmington's Director of Community Works, David Sypher. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Mayor Duckett.
It's an important time of year, David. It's June 1st today when we're filming this. It's summertime, school is out. A lot of people are going to be finding ways to get to the river, get to the lakes. And in the midst of all of this, we're in a drought situation, the second one, at least in my history as mayor. I mean, at 2018, we dealt with a similar scenario. But last week, City Council did ratify a resolution to implement Drought Stage 1 restrictions. Wanted to have you on here today to kind of talk about those restrictions, how they apply to the people in this community, and how we can kind of come together to make sure that, just like 2018, we make it through this summer without needing to go too deep into our drought restriction scenario, so to speak. So glad you're with us.
Well, thank you. And that is exactly right. I appreciate that you set the stage for that, because the reality is this is a precautionary stage. This is an advisory stage, a voluntary stage. And it's where we hope we don't have to go beyond. I mean, we want to be able to ask people to conserve water. And that's the name of this whole ordinance that we're following, is a conservation ordinance. That's what we're hoping people will help us with. If we get to 10%, then we've accomplished the goal. That's a 10% reduction of water use. Then we've accomplished our goal that we need. And perhaps, if the weather cooperates, we would never have to do anything more than that. And
Sure.
the next thing council action would be to remove it. So that's our hope.
That is the hope. So let's just kind of go back here. So Stage 1 water restrictions, voluntary restrictions. We're asking for a community-wide reduction of 10%. But let's talk about the criteria within the ordinance that directs us in that way.
Sure.
What are the four things that we talk about at council that
there's actually five.
Five things.
Your Honor. We've got the lake level itself. Our lake is probably the most wonderful thing that has ever occurred in this community. I mean, one of the great highlights, where we have the capacity to furnish water for our citizens with no replenishment, and that gives us about 180 days. And that's if we have normal use.
So Lake Farmington, just to reiterate that point, normal average use, and this is an annual average use, daily use.
Correct.
We have 180 days in Lake Farmington of water. So it's important for people to know that. We also have water towers, which hold 2 to 3 days worth of water.
That is correct. The water tanks you see around town.
Yep.
That is correct.
But right now, that's the first item we look at. Lake Farmington's 100% full, correct?
That is, and it is 100% full today.
That's great.
So we've worked very hard to keep it there, and there's challenges to that as we have snow melt, the high water turbidities that we have to deal with. So we limited what we can do there. We have Farmer's Ditch that also supplies water, and Penny Lane that supplies water to the lake. So yes, we work very hard, and we do have 100% full lake. Another thing is the snowpack. Now, our snowpack this year really stayed at about 80% on the average of normal. It got all the way down to like 30-some%, 39, 38%. On May 22nd, there was basically a quarter inch of snowpack remaining. That's what really got us ramped up being concerned, is that the snowpack was melted a full month early.
Sure.
So then we were blessed with some rain in this last 2 weeks and such. And so we're hoping that instead of being a month early, we got a little bit more snow back in the mountains. We've had some great precipitation. We got the river flows up, which is the next indicator.
Sure.
The river flows came up from down around historic lows, 25%, 30%
Of average.
and have now come up to about 60%.
Wow.
60 to 50%.
That's a big-
depending
that's a
on where
big
you're
turnaround.
measuring. That is a big turnaround. It's a very short-term turnaround.
Yeah.
As you know, even this Memorial Day weekend, we have some clouds, and they had some decent rain up in Silverton. So,
There are times, David, I get questions from people about, and certainly when I go visit schools and we talk about water and the important resource that it is, people want to know, where do we get our water from? And so, just for clarity, that snowpack, that's filling the Animas River Basin. The Animas River is what funnels the majority of the water that the city of Farmington uses. We obviously have the San Juan that comes off of Lake Navajo, but our part is really on the Animas, correct?
it really is, and we're not like other communities that have a good aquifer that we can draw from.
It's all surface water.
It's all surface water that we enjoy here, and it's great water. It's just that we don't have a well that we can turn to,
Which is
in times
different,
of drought.
like Las Cruces, they're on an aquifer.
Or Santa Fe
Albuquerque's
or
on an aquifer.
Albuquerque, yeah.
65% of the water here in the state of New Mexico of surface water flows through our county, which is a really unique situation for New Mexico.
It really is, and I guess we've been really blessed with that. And as you go back through time, probably in the last 20 years, there's only been 3 droughts that have been declared. And there's the initial education portion where sometimes we don't get a great response right at first, but that's what we're asking of our citizens. Hey, this is serious. We can avoid the serious situation. Right now, this is just precautionary. Please help us out.
Well, and we're not alone. I mean, if anybody's reading headlines or paying attention, they think this may be the first time that the Colorado River Basin doesn't replenish itself. They're really looking at some very dire situations, and we are a part of that river system, which goes all the way down into Mexico.
Right.
So I think if everybody's paying attention, they recognize that there's a little bit of urgency right now. There are ways that we can come together to reduce our use, because we know that there's people beyond us who need this water as well. Which brings me to a kind of a sidebar here. When it comes to water rights, there's been I get a lot of questions about water rights. The city of Farmington itself owns about 2 times as much water than they normally use. Is that correct?
Well, that's the potential we have. Remember, when you think of water rights, you need to think at them in terms of our 40-year plan. In terms of our 40-year plan, we actually have a bit of a shortage. So we're working all the time to try to accumulate more rights. What we're not, you can't be short-sighted in water rights when you're talking about 40 years. When you're talking about, because you never know what's going to happen.
Right.
And so it's my responsibility to try to make sure that citizens, my grandchildren, they've got the water they need in 40 years. So I really...
But as it sits right now,
As it sits right now,
people ask,
we probably are 1.5 to 2 times. Okay. That is correct. But again, that's all relative.
Okay. All right. So we've talked about our lake is one of the first criteria. The lake's 100%. Mm-hmm. But we're looking at the fact that the river's down to average, but it's picked up a little bit short term, which is positive. Snowpack has obviously been down in the Animas River Basin area. And then also we're looking at the next one is future precipitation, right?
Well, we have that is one of the remaining ones, and right now the forecast is not good. It's from 30 to 40% of normal for the summer. And the last 3 years we've had poor monsoon.
Yeah.
And that monsoon is really something our soil depends on. When a drop of moisture hits the surface of our water, of our soil. If that soil is extremely dry, it doesn't allow more penetration. It doesn't provide for what our vegetation needs.
Right.
And so it runs off and it goes on down to the Colorado system, as you described. So it's really important that we get a decent soil moisture. The way that happens here is in our monsoon. So we really need that monsoon.
So we really need Connie Mac to be wet this year.
Yes, we want that to. Hopefully, that's the only day it doesn't rain.
Well, it's a week.
But that's
so,
true.
I mean, I want to be able to bring an umbrella.
Yeah.
And I have pictures of myself at midnight at Connie Mac games with my kids, and it's raining. It's some good memories there. All right, what's the 5th item?
We have We also have a key component failure. In other words, did we have another Gold King mine spill? Has there been an oil truck that ended up in the river, or some other catastrophe that caused us not to have access to pumping or getting water from the river into the lake?
Okay.
So we've got a system failure, a huge system failure event that could occur, which we have none at this time. So
that's good.
We're really glad for that. And not only the precipitation, but let me see here. I'm forgetting one. The Palmer Index. Palmer Index is just a drought indicator that we use. And right now it's on a moderate drought, enough for concern, but it isn't at an extreme level right now. So
which in 2018 it was severe. I think it was severe drought.
Severe, not extreme, but severe.
Yeah.
That is correct.
But all the western states are being impacted by this, and I imagine communities just like ours are trying to find ways to reduce their use to make sure that they can make it through and have water supply throughout the summer.
Sure, that's why we're in an advisory precautionary mode, because if we waited till the end to do that, our opportunity for preemptive measures is gone at that point.
Well, and at what point does the state come in and declare a drought emergency? Because our part, this voluntary component, we're really limited to where our control is, and that's within the city limits. But we obviously have other users all the way up north into Colorado who at some point will be impacted by a statewide restriction. Is that true?
That is true. It can come down to that. It's called a call on the river, and they've never done that.
Okay.
That we're aware of. We've asked for those kind of indicators, what would happen, and we really don't have anything prescriptive that we can look at. It may be a bit subjective on their part, but to this point, they've never had to do a call on the river. What they've done is ask that the irrigators, the municipalities get together and have a shortage sharing agreement and rotate
which we've done. We did that in 2018, right?
We did. We did that, and we actually did that twice. In the fall last year, we even did a shortage sharing because the irrigators were having difficulty.
Yeah.
And so the water right seniority is not exercised in that case, but in the case of a call on the river, the water right seniority would be exercised.
Okay. And then some of our backup plan scenarios, we do have access to the San Juan River for our water rights as well. Now, we are currently in the process of updating that water line from the river to pump it to Water Treatment Plant 1, correct?
That is correct. And in fact, we've been engaged for the past 4 years in upgrading our entire delivery system for the emergency system. This is the final piece of it to get the supply line from the Willett Ditch to our treatment plant. So this unlike the water we get from the lake that feeds directly from the lake to treatment plant 1 and 2, this one will feed directly to treatment plant 1.
Okay.
And so it doesn't go up to the lake. And the San Juan supply that we have by water right, we have approximately 1 month and 2 months if we use our ALP water exchange on the San Juan.
Animas La Plata water, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
And that would be the Lake Night Horse project?
That would be synonymous with where we could get ALP water from. That is true.
Because that is the other backup I wanted to make sure people are aware of. Lake Night Horse was built kind of as a regional approach to ensure that we had a large amount of water supply. The city of Farmington, I believe the Navajo Nation have some rights in that, but we would essentially have to make a call for them to deliver the water down the river. And we just recently went through a test run of that. How did that go?
That went very well. We learned some really good things that will help make us a little more efficient in gathering that water. And the big, so it's a nice relief to know that we've got a system that we can probably count on. We had a real low water level in our river basin
at the time
when we tested it.
Right.
That is one of the reasons we did it. We had such a nice. Well, from a testing scientific point of view, it was a great opportunity because we could learn a little more about what do we do when water is really low.
Yeah.
Of course, at the time that you would need that ALP water, the river basin could actually be dry. and so that's kind of an unknown. But nonetheless, it's a nice thing to know that we've got water in the Lake Nighthorse La Plata project that can deliver our water rights, which is about, again, 3 to 4 weeks worth of water. And then when you add to that some water rights we have directly on the San Juan, we can extend that probably another 3 to 4 weeks. Okay. So it could be in a drought situation. That's key because, of course, Lake Navajo Dam is really a nice, huge supply for us to be able to tap into.
So we've got, just so people understand the criteria, we're looking at when we make these decisions to go into a drought stage, no matter what stage it is, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Right now it's just stage 1 voluntary, but we are again looking at what our lake level is, what the river flow looks like, what snowpack, where the snowpack is at, future drought, and if there's any potential man-made or natural disaster that may cause us to have limited access to
Correct.
river water.
And our Palmer Index and just the potential rainfall.
Drought, yeah.
Right.
So stage 1, let's talk about that criteria. Again, it's voluntary. I mean, there's some simple ways that people around their home and their business can make sure that they're doing a little part of that. 10% to me, if I want to reduce my water use, if most of that's going into my watering my landscape.
That's true. Our water use doubles from winter when we don't
because of landscapes.
Because of landscaping. And a lot of people do not spend the time they need to in making their water efficient.
Sure.
If you're going to have a garden, do a drip system instead of a sprinkler system. You use a large, and some people use flood irrigating, which is really inefficient as far as conserving water goes.
Okay. So in my mind, your landscape watering, those things are your biggest area where you could find ways to cut back. And if you're watering 3 or 4 days a week, 10 minutes each station, cut it back to 9 minutes each station. That's 10% roughly, right? I mean,
yes,
if you're
right.
thinking about it.
And 10% really wouldn't be hard. It's more of an attitude, Your Honor, because really when you get down to it, if you just sweep your driveway instead of hose it off.
Yeah.
If you just, when you're in getting water, using water such as a shower or such as a brushing your teeth or all those types of things, or putting, when you're doing the dishwasher, you put it on water saver instead of normal wash. There's just so many simple things we can do if we develop the attitude of conserving water.
So I know within my house, one of the things we did is we adjusted the toilets, the innards of the toilets, so that you don't have to have as much water in there when it flushes. We've also gone to where we catch the water as we're warming up our showers. We'll catch them in a bucket. We use that water then for our animal water, or we put it out on our landscapes and our flower beds. Same thing when we're doing dishes. We fill up the basin. We use that basin to wash the dishes. We don't let the water just sit there and run while we do it. I know some folks brush their teeth in the shower. Brush your teeth at the sink. You'll save some water that way. I mean, there really is just small little changes we can make in our daily habits. And we've been blessed, David. I mean, one of the things I was told when I was elected was that, hey, when we got the water, we need to use it because we got plenty of water rights. And so we should be using those things. But there's a different mindset that's come about here, I think especially since 2018, to say, wait a minute, if we don't need all that water, let's be responsible for it.
Well, and it's protected. You do have to show use, and we do that. Your staff realizes the importance of not losing a water right. We rotate the use on the different water rights to show the needed use. So we're not going to lose it.
Right.
That's our responsibility. It's probably the most key thing we all own. I mean, if you had to let everything go in your life, water's not one of them.
No. So 10%. Restaurants, I know one of the things on our list, and I want to make sure we direct people to the City of Farmington's website, fmtn.org. There on there, right at the front, is a big button you can click that gives you some breakdown of some water ways to reduce water and what the water stage 1 drought looks like.
Right, and that does include, like you mentioned, the restaurant owners. We're advising, again, it's only advisory at this stage. Hey, don't provide water unless your customers are asking for it.
Right, instead of just having it on the table.
Yeah. Right. And swimming pools. Please don't refill your swimming pools. You get a good, maintain your filtration system. Add the water you need, but don't empty and refill because your filtration isn't working right. Get your filtration system upgraded and make it work. That is a huge amount of water when you empty and fill.
Yeah. David, what else on stage 1? I mean, we don't want to get into stage 2. Stage 2 would be a mandatory 15% reduction.
That is correct, and I think the things that we've mentioned are some real good basic things. For those of you who have a conventional toilet, you don't need to go out and buy a new toilet. Put a brick in the tank as displacing water. It's that simple. Or
leaky toilets. I was at a person's house a few days ago and noted that their toilet's just sitting there just running. And I said, hey, you're losing probably 10,000 or more gallons a month. 10,000
or more a month, and depending on your toilet and your exact leak, up to 60, 70, 80,000 gallons a month. It's really huge.
Bad. Yeah.
Stop and take the time when you figure out that you've got a leaky toilet and spend $20 and get it fixed.
Right. David, we don't want to go to stage 3. That would be a 35% mandatory reduction, and it would require some enforcement components. Stage 2, if somebody is found to be abusing, allowing their sprinklers just to run all day long, because one of the items that we talk about is the best times of day to water efficiently.
Yes.
Not running it in the middle of the heat of the day where it's going to just evaporate, not watering on windy days where it's not going to get on your landscapes.
Yeah.
But certainly in stage 2, that's where more of the, hey, people are looking at what their neighbors are doing, what businesses are doing along Main Street. And I've gotten a lot of phone calls. In 2018, I got a lot of phone calls from individuals saying, hey, have you seen this business? Have you seen how much water is coming off their sidewalk? We don't want to get into that scenario. We want us to provide an update, which I hope your department will be doing on a bi-monthly basis, where we're getting updates throughout the next 3 or 4 months. But the community is going to have to hold itself accountable.
Yes, and really it is in stage 2. There are warnings that we give, but unless you ignore your second warning, it's just there's no fines in stage 2. And stage 3, there is fines, and rightfully so. If we get to stage 3, which we all pray we don't,
we're talking Lake Farmington has been reduced. There's some really bad scenarios going on.
Bad scenarios, no monsoon, and it would probably be in late August or September that it would occur, while the irrigation season is winding down. That would be the worst part of the season that could happen.
So let's stay in stage 1. Let's do what we need to do.
Let's do.
Go to the City of Farmington's website, check out ways that you can reduce. You can certainly check us out on Facebook as well. And there's lots of information available to you and your family and your businesses and how we can kind of come together.
Absolutely.
David, last thing, I know this has come up recently, just the San Juan Boulevard, there is a spring or there's a water ditch or it's a sewer. We don't know what it is yet, but we are aware that there is water running off of like San Juan and Main Street in that area.
That is correct. We've done a full battery test. It's on a private piece of land, so we really don't have jurisdiction. We're trying to be helpful in figuring that out. And there are about 4 springs around town. We're living in a desert country, and we usually, if there's a pool of water, it's coming from either an irrigation company or from city municipal water. But there are some springs in town that are natural. This one in the past has been determined to be such, but we're giving it a full look over. We're assuming that it is not, and we're going through and testing chlorine, fluoride readings. We're trying to trace it. We're coming in at midnight and doing a listening device so we can try to see where it's flowing from.
Well, I appreciate the work that you're doing there to try and figure that out, because I know it's anytime people see the water running down the street during a water restriction time, that's a concern. So
sure.
Appreciate your work, David. Anything else today?
Just want to thank the citizens, and again, try to think of this as an attitude adjustment, and we can all do that in our lives, right? I mean, we have all room to adjust, and if we just get an attitude of conservation in our minds, we'll be successful here.
Thank you, David. And to the community out there, 2018, we've gone through a similar scenario as this. I believe that if we do what we did back then, we'll be able to conserve that 10%. We just need to work together, find ways. Our kids are home this summer. It's a great way to get them engaged. in things and ways to conserve water. It's an attitude, just as you said.
It really is. I mean, even down to the fact I know that some of the church groups in town are being serious about praying for this, and I would welcome the prayers as well.
We will take all the prayers, absolutely.
Yep.
Mr. Sypher, thank you for joining us. We appreciate all your insight. I'm sure we'll have you back here again.
I hope so.
All right, and thank you for tuning in to this special edition of the Mayor's Table. Make sure you check out the City of Farmington's Facebook page and website for information on how you can conserve water in your home and business. Thanks.